I just wanted to start off by saying that, in Hawaii, we are a tourism-based economy. So pretty much everything our state does is to appease tourists and tourism. So that alone is a huge challenge when you consider that more than half the year, tourists outnumber local people. Yeah, more than half the year on this island. And the difference in between what tourists want and what locals want is that tourists want, the well-known fish like the ahi, the mahi-mahi, and they also, yeah, they can't deal with the whole fish either. But local people prefer, the local reef fish. They prefer the darker meat fish like the akus, not ahis, and it's completely different between the two. And I noticed recently because of COVID, with the farmers markets and everything, the farm to table movement expanded tremendously over COVID because everyone didn't want to go to grocery stores. Everyone wanted to get their stuff from local farmers and everything. And they ended up actually, I think it was the Ulu initiative. They do breadfruit. They do these boxes where they include fish with a recipe made by one of the famous chefs on islands. And they give you all the ingredients you need to take this box home with the fresh fish and cook it. And I thought that was a really good idea. But I mean, it's only a tiny program. And, I'm sure there's only one supplier of the fish for that, anyways. But we have a lot of Filipinos, Japanese, Chinese who all use, the parts of the fish that normally tourists wouldn't be interested in. And so that's where I was kind of trying to look into what we can do, to supply that to everyone. And when you go in the supermarkets over here, the what pisses my brother off mostly because he used to be a commercial fisherman is that the imported mainland treated ahi is selling right next to the fresh caught ahi, but they're both being sold as raw. And he's like, this should never happen. Only fresh ahi should be sold as raw. But in Hawaii, we have such a huge demand for raw fish because everyone likes poke, everyone wants to eat sashimi, and that's all raw cuts of fish. He's just amazed that it's happening. And if you look in the stores, the fresh ahi being sold compared to the mainland one is double, sometimes almost triple the price. So many people walking in the store looking to buy raw fish are gonna go for the mainland previously frozen, treated with gases fish because it's so much cheaper. And offsetting that price difference is a big problem, I think, that we need to work on. But also there is no, like you said, there's no hub where everyone can come together and put ideas together and get the marketing done and get the fish out to everyone. And I know a lot of fishermen who go from restaurant to restaurant trying to sell their fish and end up giving it away to their neighbors and family just so it doesn't go to waste. And it happens a lot. And I really think Kauai could use some kind of facility where, like with canning or even making the cuts of fish at that facility, it would be invaluable. Not to mention it would offset the cost to fishermen with, having to get ice, having to find people to buy their fish. I mean, that would all be taken off the table with that. And I don't know, I think maybe if we could put something like that together, so each side of the island has its own little group of fishermen and they all create their own little markets and their own little groups. And so there's a North Shore, then there's the West Side guys, and bringing all of them together is also another big challenge because they all have a lot of difference of opinion. But yeah, the education part I think is key into making people come together because not a lot of people, I I know I'm in my neighborhood alone, there's not a lot of people who know where they can get a fresh caught ahi except for the guy down the road that puts his sign out on the street, you know? And I see most of the locally caught fish here that's being sold is being sold on the side of the road out of coolers from people who have just come back from fishing. That's where I see most of the local fish. And if we could somehow help them out with that so that they can get their fish sold and for a good price instead of sitting on the side of the road all day, I mean, it would be absolutely invaluable. It would, and also if we could start with canning or some type of way to supply long-term storage or long-term food supply like canning, then with this supposed recession and everything happening, I mean, it's almost it's needed, definitely needed. And I mean, like I said, it's a very, very small island, but tourists outnumber us most of the time. So the demand from tourists is where the money is. So trying to figure out a system to integrate all of these things into like one specific hub where everyone can come to for this would be the main goal, I guess. And I mean, I see you guys have lots of experience in doing this kind of thing. So thank you all for helping. Yeah, I saw there's someone is doing canning on the island right now, but it's a really, really small scale and they're doing it in mason jars and they're selling it only at, the tourist shops and whatever, but they are selling pretty quickly now. So I think if we could tap into that, especially with the food storage part of it, that aspect of it, I think this could really be a promising project. Another problem being on Kauai is that real estate here is more than any other island in Hawaii. So having just getting the building even is, you're gonna have to jump through hoops. I mean, the prices are crazy here. And if you don't have a business that can right off the bat start making profit to keep that business going, and like basic business, you don't really start making money until the first 3 years are up, right? So getting to that point would be a huge hump you have to get over. I mean, there's a lot. Sorry, I'm like, my brain's going all over the place right now because there's so much ideas I've from listening to you guys I've gotten in my head now. So yeah, but definitely with the nonprofit co-op, I think we could apply for a lot of grants. I noticed that there's a lot of USDA grants right now for the seafood industry. There's a lot of micro grants for food security. The deadline's June 6th too, but yeah, a lot of locals over here prefer, the whole fish, but since we're all tourist based, tourism is what's going to happen. We're going to have to dedicate the time mostly to. But another big thing is over here, this island specifically, from the conservation aspect, we have huge environmental laws, and there's a lot of oversight because of conservation and everything of this island. So a lot of like, we have, because we've got we have so many endangered species on this one island alone that pretty much anything you do here is going to have an environmental impact statement, and that's another huge hump to get over also. But I mean, this island really, really needs something like this because, I mean, right now the fishermen are struggling, especially when gas is almost $6 a gallon. I don't know how much longer they can keep doing what they're doing if they depend on their catch for living. Otherwise, yeah, pretty much gonna have to go keep importing more and more fish from the mainland because it's actually cheaper and it's a lot more feasible for a lot of businesses who serve fish here to get their fish from the mainland from these big distributors. And then I did notice that the seafood distributors in Hawaii have expanded their businesses and they're putting up more and more little warehouses all over the islands. So the need is there for seafood. It's just we don't have the supply or the means to get it to the market. So yeah, I'm not completely sure on how to go about getting there, but these are the problems that we're facing here on Kauai. And yeah, I think a lot of fishermen are really upset about the fact that frozen mainland fish is being sold here as raw right next to their own fresh product, and more people are buying the frozen treated fish than the fresh. And I think it all comes down really to outreach and education.